Hello and welcome to the Second Tier Podcast. I'm Ryan Dilks and I'm joined by the Golden Globes to my Oscars. It's Justin Peach.
Good day to you, Ryan.
Justin, how the hell are you?
I'm absolutely buzzing at this inaugural event that we're holding today.
Is it inaugural? We had one last year.
I don't know what inaugural means.
Neither do I. I always assumed it was the first. It's always been one of those words which I have kind of knew what it meant, but I've never been confident enough to actually use it in everyday conversation.
Yeah. I thought it meant special event.
I thought it meant first.
Oh, God.
Fantastic start. You are listening to the biggest championship-specific podcast, the Second Tier. Thank you for joining us wherever you are. Ladies and gentlemen, 'tis award season. Yes, that's right. It's the Second Tier Awards. All the other so-called championship experts have had their say. Now it's the turn of the legitimate championship experts. I'm all suited and booted, wearing a tux for the big occasion. Justin is as well. You're drinking coffee out of a champagne flute. Look how fancy we are, Justin.
Almost too fancy. We're too classy for our own good today.
We are very aware that this is a podcast, so no one can actually see us wearing this unless you're watching us on YouTube. Second Tier Pod, if you want to have a look at us there. Apart from that, we all look very silly, but here we go. It is making an effort for such a big occasion. So let's go through what is going to be the situation with this show. We're going to run through all the big awards: Manager of the Season, Signing of the Season, Young Player of the Season, Player of the Season, but we may as well start off with Team of the Season. Which players have been the best in their respective positions in the championship this season? You're about to find out, ladies and gentlemen. Where else is there to start? But of course, with number one, our goalkeeper of the season. Justin, who have we got between the sticks?
We've got Tim Krul from Norwich City.
We absolutely have. Now, this is something that we'll go through when we go through each position. There are some positions which I struggled with in terms of finding, narrowing it down to just one player. And then there are some where there were so many options that I don't think we could have picked a wrong answer, really. Goalkeeper was one of those where I don't think there were particularly anyone who was too stand out this season. But for me, Tim Krul probably is the best goalkeeper in the championship this season.
I think based on form, I mean, he wasn't my first choice, but, these things are always debatable. But he's certainly a worthy winner of goalkeeper of the season, mainly because first half of the season, he kept Norwich in games. His form in the first half of the season was just, it was almost too good. And Norwich missed him when he was out injured as well, because their form started to jitter a little bit. There was a bit of nervousness in the air, but when he came back, they just went on a ridiculous run of games, which saw them over the line as champions of the championship. So yeah, he's certainly a worthy winner. And as we say, he's getting into the Holland squad as well. And the Holland squad is always full of talent, which shows his ability still. And he's still a Premier League goalkeeper. He just happens to play for Norwich, who bounce up and down between the Premier League and the Championship at the moment.
Yeah, well, Norwich have conceded the second fewest goals in the Championship this season. But when you look at the data side of things, they haven't necessarily been as defensively solid as that suggests, particularly in the first half of the season. They were conceding loads of big chances. And one of the main reasons why they managed to keep that goal tally down was because of the heroics of Tim Krul. And he has been back to his best once again this season. And having an experienced, reliable shot stopper like him has really helped Norwich be the team that they are in terms of confidence. And he truly is top class. He's going to have another big season with Norwich back in the Premier League. But if he plays like he has done this campaign, that's a bloody good start for Daniel Farke, isn't it? Justin, let's move on to right back. And we were just saying a minute ago, there were some positions where we perhaps struggled a bit with nailing it down to just one. This was one position where there were so many options as to who we could pick. It's almost like England. Who the hell are you going to pick as your number one choice? I would have quite happily have had Max Aarons here, Kiko Firmino, Callum Britton, all had fair shouts. But of course, we've gone for Swansea's Connor Roberts. Why have we picked him, Justin?
He's been unreal. the consistency levels have been unreal. His lungs are that of I'm trying to think of some animal that has large lungs.
Horse.
A horse, yeah, that's the obvious one. Two horses. He's got the
An
lungs of two
emu.
horses. An emu, yeah, why not? He arrives late in the box like an emu, but I don't think they're really renowned for that. So, gone off topic.
Do emus arrive late in the box?
They strike me as an animal that would do that because they're
Okay.
quite tall, coming in at the back post, getting on the end of a header. I don't know what I'm
Connor
talking
Roberts,
about.
the emu. There you go.
But yeah, he's been asked to do two jobs this season, which is basically right winger, right back, and he's done it so well for pretty much 3/4, 4/5 of the season. Defensively, he's very good. Going forward, he's very good. He's popped up to score the winner on at least 3 occasions. The last one being the Derby result, where they beat Derby, where he again crossfield ball from the other side of the pitch, arrives at the back post and slots it in with his foot. He's done it against Forest with his head. Yeah, he's just been ridiculously good and consistent. He's also the joint highest goal scoring defender, and he's made 6 assists this season, which makes him the second highest assist scoring defender this season. So certainly a worthy winner.
Yeah, he's everything you'd want in a wing back, isn't he? Brilliant cross off the ball, loves taking on defenders, surprisingly effective in the box, steady defensively, really long throw, and most importantly, he has got iron lungs. And the man just does not stop running. And it's a shame they don't do the stats in the Championship for distance covered, because I'm confident he would be miles ahead of everyone else. And his form has been so important for Swansea this season because he provides all the width, and at times they've relied on him getting them out of jail. And that's an impressive thing to say for a right back. The big worry for Swansea fans is if they don't go up, he's not going to be there next season. I don't think there's anyone is begrudging him that, because that's where he belongs 100% in the top division of English football. Justin, let's move on to centre-backs. We'll start off with Connor Roberts' teammate, Mark Gurhey. And I will say this, Justin, I've been looking at some of the other Championship experts and their teams of the seasons. They're, of course, entitled to their opinions, but any team of the season which doesn't include Mark Gurhey should instantly be declared irrelevant, in my view.
No, I completely agree. Just watching him in the playoffs sort of realigned the thought process of he's almost too good for the Championship. It's easy to run out of superlatives for him. He's got everything you want in a defender. He reads the game well. He's a step ahead of his attacker. And Curtis Davies pointed this out during the playoffs, is rather than use his pace to win his duel with his man, he's already a step ahead of him. And he's absurdly consistent for a lad of his age, and he's quite easily one of the best, or top 2 defenders, centre-backs in this league this season.
Yeah, easily. Of course, he's had the playoff semi-finals where he was the best player on the pitch on both occasions. I'm even discounting that. Over the course of the season, in my eyes, there has been no better central defender than Mark Gurhey. He has been absolutely top class for a 20-year-old, 20 years old, Justin. He reads the game so well. It's like he's a step ahead of everyone else. It's like he's got, I don't know, a Marty McFly kind of look into the future kind of view of things. And I'm going to say it, Justin, he is a Rolls-Royce defender.
Oh, God.
As true as that phase can be. He's obviously on loan from Chelsea, and if I was Thomas Tuchel, I'd be including him in the squad for next season. Not sure if he will. I think Lampard might very well have. If not, he'll be a fantastic signing for a Premier League team next season, whether it's on loan or even permanently. I think this lad's got a big future in the game. Justin, who have we gone for as Mark Gurhey's defensive partner?
It might be a bit of a surprise, but he's been that good this season. We've gone with Grant Hanley.
We absolutely have. And I'm very aware that someone on Twitter is going to say, oh, you were criticising Norwich defensively earlier. That is true. But Norwich, they're going to be vulnerable defensively considering how they play. But even I admit they've been a different animal at the back in the second half of the season. And that is in no small part down to Grant Hanley. He has been the perfect centre half for this Norwich team. Not usually the type of defender you'd associate with being able to play the ball from the back, but he's actually really good at it. And he's been quality at the defensive side of the game for quite some time now. And he's also deceivingly quick. How good has he been this season, Justin?
Really good. Very, very good. For a defender who is not renowned for his ball playing abilities, I think having someone like Ben Gibson, who is much better at that job, alongside him helps him, because then he can concentrate his game on doing what he's very good at, what got him his big move to Newcastle, his former Blackburn, and that's just being a good defender. And that's first and foremost what he's been doing. And obviously we say Norwich weren't typically very, very good defensively in the first half of the season. They did concede a lot of chances without conceding too many goals. It's not necessarily down to one defender, Grant Hanley. He's been the leader they need, and he's had to step up this season because he was a bit of a bit part player in their in the season that they went up the first time around under Farker, and obviously Ben Godfrey leaving, he's had to step into those shoes, which isn't an easy thing to do, and he's been a real leader in that team, and it showed having that maturity and leadership at the back that they've been able to build through the thirds like they have this season.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got better and better as the season's gone on, and there aren't too many strikers who have managed to get the better of him in a one-on-one situation. And as you say, his partnership with Ben Gibson has been class. And Gibson was actually another one who was close to being in this team. He was almost as close as being a straight coin toss between Gibson and Hanley to be the other defender in this team, because one of them at least definitely deserved to be in this side. Justin, who have we gone for as left back?
Again, this is a position that wasn't so easy because we always seem to have a problem at left back, and I don't know why. I remember last season it being a struggle.
Yeah, I think we went with Stuart Dallas in the end, who wasn't necessarily a left back. Having said that, there are so many good left backs in the Championship. It's just there's so many like question marks you can hold against him. Like Rico Henry, for example, probably the best left back in the division, has only played so many games because he's missed a lot of it through injury. Adam Messina and Giannoulis were the other ones who came to my head, but they've only played, half the season because they only really came to their teams halfway through the season. But the best left back for me this season, quite easily, and I think we both agreed on this actually.
Yeah,
Callum Styles at Barnsley. The lad has been nothing short of a revelation, has he, Justin?
I absolutely love him. I've loved him from game one. His tenacity, his intensity, it's just everything is well suited to that Barnsley side. And again, a bit like Connor Roberts, he's had to do two jobs this season. He's had to be a left winger and a left back, and it's not an easy job to do. You have got to have, as you pointed out, the lungs of a horse, and he's done that. But he's done that with his defensive side of the game, especially, has been a step ahead of a lot of players in the league. And let's bear in mind his favoured position is central midfield. He's not a left wing back by trade. He's a centre midfielder, and I fully expect him once Alex Mowat leaves. Should Alex Mowat leave, I'll add, to step into that position. But just going on to the stats side of it, he's won the second most tackles this season for a defender. He's made the second most blocks, and he's contributed with 4 goals this season, and there were 4 cracking goals as well. And he's just been well suited to this Barnsley side, and it's been an absolute pleasure to watch him alongside some of the other Barnsley players, but especially him, because as I say, he's been brilliant.
Yeah, well, you say you'd like to see him in midfield next season. I think he's just played so well at left back that he's got to stay there. He's almost nailed down that position now. I will be honest, at the very start of the season, he was on my radar and I was aware of his existence, but I didn't really know too much about him because he's barely featured for Barnsley prior to this season. And he's certainly caught the attention now of not just myself, but plenty of Premier League clubs, I imagine, especially now Barnsley are staying in the Championship next season. He is the kind of left back everyone wants in their team. He loves going forward, loves taking players on, has got a hammerhead of a left foot, and is great defensively. And as you quite rightly said, he was a centre mid up until this season, which is a crazy thought. In fact, the transition to fullback/wingback has been quite reminiscent of Matty Cash at Forest last season, in the way that they're both kind of similar players actually, but in the way that they were midfielders, have gone to fullback and have looked like completely new players. He has been absolutely brilliant. Key to Barnsley's success this season. Want to know a final fact on him, Justin?
Go on then.
He's eligible to play for Hungary and Ukraine.
Wow.
So there you go. Yeah. He's still a fairly young lad, and I imagine he might fancy his chances of playing for England eventually, but he has said he wants to play international football. So why not? Hungary and Ukraine. Get on the phone, lads.
That's a really good stat, especially after the Brent Brereton call-up.
Yeah, who knows what's going to happen anymore? Justin, before we move on to midfield, I can already hear the Watford fans, typing on their keyboards, asking why there are no Watford defenders in this team, because Watford have got the best defensive record, or joint best defensive record, a Championship side has ever had in the Championship. I will say this. I was happy to have Watford defenders involved, but you overruled me. Why did you overrule me?
Watford this season have been like a bit of an A and a B side on a record. The A side has been this season under Isco Munez. The B side has been largely forgettable under Ivic. And that's one of the reasons why, because obviously it's been a Jekyll and Hyde season for them. And as well as that, a lot of their defense, they've rotated their defense quite often, which getting the best defensive record in the division doing that is actually quite staggering. But given that the likes of Cathcart, Troost-Ekong, Sierralta, Messina, they haven't reached 40 games. I think Firmino is the only one. And it's unfortunate that Connor Roberts and Max Aarons were in that position ahead of him, because they've been outstanding. Because obviously Kiko Firmino would have definitely been the top choice. And again, with Ben Foster got injured halfway through the season and Bachmann stepped in, we can't choose a team of the season based on half a season's worth of performances. It's got to be the full season.
Your words, not mine, is all I'm going to say. I was happy to include a Watford defender. Sierralta has been absolutely class in the second half of the season. Absolutely superb. Justin, let's move on to midfield, and we'll start on the right wing. And I don't think we need too much of an introduction here, Justin. We all know who it is. It's Emi Buendia. I mean, of course it is. If you're building a Championship team in the season, Emi Buendia is the first person you put on the team sheet, isn't he?
You could have put him on the team sheet, or the team of the season sheet at the start of the season. I know he had a bit of a slow start because there was a lot of speculation about him, but he was still bloody good. And he's got even better. He's just a cheat code at this level. He shouldn't be allowed. He shouldn't be allowed to exist in the Championship. It's not fair on everybody else. And to score 15 goals and create 16 goals is absolute madness for a player who has only finally just had international recognition from Argentina. Obviously called up to squads recently. That's testament to how good a season he's had, because Argentina going forwards have always been a very well-stocked side. So they're calling up a Championship player to do, or to help out, essentially, is staggering. So yeah, he fully deserves his place, and I'm sure we'll talk about him later as well. But what a player! Just what a player! Let's just revel in his ability. It's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, what more can we say about him that we haven't been saying every single week? And that's the scary thing for me, how scarily or startlingly consistent he's been. Every 9 out of 10 games, he's the best player on the pitch. For an attacking player to be able to do that so regularly, I don't think it happens very often at this level. You're talking in the same category as your true Championship greats. And it's been abundantly clear since very early on that he shouldn't have been playing in the Championship this season. For me, he's top 6 Premier League. And one of only 3 players in the Championship ever have managed to get 15 goals and 15 assists or more in a season. And he's done that. He's outstanding. And I can honestly say it's been a pleasure seeing him in the Championship this season. Hasn't been particularly fair on the other sides in the division, but my God, what a player. Let's go to centre mid, Justin. Our first centre mid is a man who has been at the centre of one of the biggest success stories we've ever seen in the Championship. Justin, who have we got?
Alex Mowat.
Yes, of course it's Alex Mowat. He is the key cog in this Barnsley team, the heartbeat, the sun in the solar system of this Barnsley side. And Barnsley would not have been as successful this season had it not been for Alex Mowat. That left foot, simply a wand. And whether it's a set piece, unleashing a worldie from distance, or creating a pinpoint chance, he is the perfect playmaker at Championship level. Also not afraid to put in a shift for his team. He was my first choice centre midfielder quite easily this season, Justin.
He was, it was without doubt. Again, it's quite easy to put him in. He's got the best left foot in the league. Or it's all right saying it's a one, but it's the best left foot in the league. The way he strikes the ball is ridiculous. And it's important to point out that he plays in the midfield too. but it feels like a 3. He's able to dominate with and without the ball. His delivery, as we know, is amongst the best in the league, and his form is no surprise to me this season. I was calling for clubs to pick him up in the last summer, I should say, because obviously had a year left on his deal. But 8 goals, 7 assists from centre mid is a good effort, and as well as that, he averages the most second key passes from a central midfielder, which is obviously creating chances for his team. And he's made the second most tackles for a centre midfielder this season, which is a surprise. Well, actually, no, it's not a surprise.
Well, you can do it all, can't he?
Yeah.
He is just your perfect all-round playmaker, really, in the way that he puts in a shift and is also fantastic on the ball. There's not much more you could want from him this season. He has been absolutely superb. Another player who seems to be getting better and better in his career, and it's going to be very interesting to see where he is next season, because I fancy him to make the step up, whether it's top level championship club or play Premier League side. Absolutely fantastic player. The next centre mid was an interesting one, Justin, because I had a couple of options in my head, but we've gone for the player who has been very much the unsung hero in this Norwich team this season. And I think every Norwich fan is desperate to get him back on loan again next season. That is, of course, Oliver Skipp. Why have we picked Oliver Skipp, Justin?
The way he marshals that midfield is ridiculously, again, mature for his age. You look at Mark Gurley playing at 20 years old. Oliver Skipp's 2021. He's plays with a lot of maturity, and there's a lot of emphasis on him in that midfield to do the job that they need him to do, because he allows that midfield trident to be as creative as they want to be. To have someone like, you're scowling a lot.
I'm just nodding in agreement.
To have someone like him in the team is essential for Norwich, and to have someone of his ability is much needed. He suits Norwich perfectly. Is again a tenacious midfielder who wins the ball back, and as I say, allows the creative players to be creative. Every creative team like Norwich needs a man like Oliver Skipp. Yeah.
Getting him in has been a bit of a masterstroke by Norwich, because he is exactly what they needed. Someone to provide that shield in front of the defence, but he's also very, very capable of playing the ball. And he's another one who has got better and better as the season's gone on. Only 20 years old. I didn't realise he was only 20. I thought he was, 22, which isn't, much of an age difference. But for someone so young to play as well as he has done in that role, it's actually quite scary. And I'd say he's one for England fans to watch out for over the next few years, because he has got a big, big future, no doubt about that. The next person we've got in our team of the season, Justin, on the left wing, has given quite a few right-backs nightmares this season, hasn't he? We've gone for Bournemouth's Arnaut Danjuma. And wow, what a player this guy has turned out to be. Obviously, he's signed by Bournemouth for the Premier League last season. Didn't really get much of a look in. We were wondering how good he was going to be this season, and it turns out it's very bloody good.
I mean, are we surprised that a Dutch winger is that good? The wingers that they produce is at a staggering level, really. And Danjuma is another one. The way he cuts inside and slots in calmly on his right foot, I think he's a bit like an Iron Robin in that sense, because of how consistently he does it, and defenders just can't get close to him when he does it. But 17 goals and 7 assists for a player who has only played 36 games. He missed a chunk in the middle of the season through injury and coincided with Bournemouth's poor form as well. Yeah, he's so good. And again, he's another one at this level who shouldn't be playing at this level. And we love the Championship, but seeing players like Arnaut Danjuma on team sheets is scary as an opposition supporter, let alone an opposition right back.
Yeah, well, the first half of the season, he was playing well without necessarily getting the numbers on the board. He was still providing, plenty of a threat down the left-hand side for Bournemouth. Then he had that couple of months where you quite rightly say he got injured. Then he took a bit of time to get used to being back in the team. And in the final third, wow, oh wow, he has been brutally devastating on that left-hand side. This Bournemouth side is full of unbelievable talent, but he is quite easily the star man. He's got the finishing ability of a striker, fast as lightning, and also a very good passer of the ball, which is possibly a side of his game which is a bit underrated, because when you see, a goal scoring winger like him cutting inside, you obviously think, well, he's fantastic at the finishing, he's fantastic at dribbling, but he is also brilliant at setting up chances as well. He can do it all in that position. If you're looking for an inside forward cutting from the left hand side, then Premier League sides should be whipping out their wallets as soon as possible. There's absolutely no surprise that he's been linked with a move to the Premier League now that Bournemouth have been confirmed that they're staying in the Championship, because he is just unreal, absolutely unreal down that left-hand side. Let's go to striker, Justin. Now, we have had an exceptionally high standard of strikers this season in the Championship. There are about 5 players who in normal seasons would have got into this team but have missed out. Such is the quality of the front men that we've seen this season. It's been a different level, really. We'll start with the obvious one. Ivan Toney. Anyone who does a team without him needs their head checking, or is plainly just fishing for a reaction. 31 goals, the most ever in a Championship season, 10 assists as well. For me, he's the best Championship striker ever. You disagree, and you're more than entitled to your opinion. But there is no doubt he has been the best striker in the Championship this season, Justin.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. I do love Ivan Toney, by the way. I know I'm not on that bandwagon of he's the best ever, and like to see him a little bit more to get to that level. But this season, he's just been so clinical. He's got the highest goal conversion in the league. But away from him being a goal scorer, his work off the ball, his link-up play, he's the real deal. He really is. And anyone who doesn't think he's going to play at the top level anytime soon, again, needs to give their head a check, because whether Brentford are in the Premier League or not, they're going to be clubs lining up for him. Because, as I say, for a number 9, he's got everything. And at the weekend in the playoffs, I was just really surprised at the amount of headers that he won. And it doesn't look necessarily imposing as a number 9. He doesn't have the physicality that the Matt Smith or the I don't know, I'm going back to Steve Howard as traditional number 9s in the Championship. He doesn't have that level of physicality, but he still beats his man, which again is testament to his ability and his physical ability as well.
Yeah, well, he's been finally consistent in front of goal, but as you quite rightly say, he can do it all at this level. His finishing is a 10 out of 10, but then the rest of his game is at least a 7. His ability in the air, his pace, contributing to the build-up, finding his teammates with through balls. It's just so impressive to have a player like that playing at this level, and there aren't many more compliments we can give him. I think this is possibly the last time I'll actually mention him on this show, Justin, after the playoff final on Saturday, of course. So this is the last time we can really big him up as having this fantastic season. The final compliment that we can give him is that for a player who was brought for 7 or 8 million, whatever Brentford paid for him, it just seems like a bargain in hindsight. Superb business, really. Brentford, when they pay that much for a player, he's going to be a fantastic player, and he has, proved them right once again. Justin, let's move on to the final striker. So many players who could have gone in here: Adam Armstrong, Kiefer Moore, Lucas Shaw. Am I forgetting anyone? Andre Ayew. So many players who could have picked here. Who have we gone for?
Timu Pukki. Come on.
Yep. Why have we picked the Finnish finisher?
26 goals this season. Quite rightly one of the most deadly strikers the Championship has ever seen. Contrary to Ivan Toney, whose work off the ball and in and around the box is great, Timu Pukki in the box is a terrifying prospect at this level. His numbers are frightening. They're so scary. This guy was a free transfer. We talk about Ivan Toney being a snip at 8 million. Timu Pukki was a free transfer. It just blows my mind. And he's only really had a couple of dry spells this season, but his finishing is amongst the best in the league. I talk about goal conversion quite a lot. It's only second highest to Ivan Toney. He's taken less shots than Armstrong and Toney as well. So his ability once he gets on the blind side of the defender, and he just time and time again just able to slot it in at the far post. It's Control Alt V. Control, right. Yeah, copy and paste. It's madness. I love Timu Pukki a lot, and again, hopefully we'll see him again, maybe.
do you really want that? You're just going to anger Norwich fans by saying something like that. His movement off the ball is the most impressive thing for me, because the number of times he manages to find himself 1-on-1 with a goalkeeper is just unbelievable. Of course, he's got a good supply line with Brendia, Cantwell, Skip, all these players who are fantastic at finding, their teammates ahead of them. But Pukki, he makes it a lot easier for them when he manages to find himself in space so often. And you're quite right, his finishing is just sensational, and he's so clinical in front of goal. He started off the season in a bit shaky form. He was kind of carrying on his form from in the Premier League last season, where he didn't have the best of second halves in the Premier League, obviously. But then when he finally managed to hit the ground, he was hitting the ground running and was just as deadly as ever. He is one of the best Championship strikers we've ever seen. Absolutely fantastic. Hopefully he can continue this form that we've seen in the second half of the season in the Premier League with Norwich next season, because if they do, that's a very good start again. Justin, let's move on from team of the season. In fact, let's have a little break. After that, we'll talk about signing of the season, most improved player of the season, goal of the season, young player of the season, and of course, player of the season. Welcome back to the Second Tier podcast. This is the Second Tier Awards, where we're going through the best players in each position in the Championship and going on to the other awards for the Championship this season. We're going to start off with signing of the season. Now, there are plenty of fantastic signings in the Championship this season. Clubs have had to be a bit more subtle with their movements. We haven't seen much money splashed around in the Championship over the past season, have we, Justin? I think that's mainly because of COVID. COVID has meant teams have had to be a bit more sensible and a bit more prudent in their spending, haven't they? Plenty of options for this once again. But I think we were both in agreement that this player in particular was one hell of a signing for their respective side.
Yeah, we've gone with Josh Laurent at Reading.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic buy. They got him for free from Shrewsbury last summer, and nothing short of sensational, Justin.
He's what he's doing. He's for me, he's really transformed how Reading play. His partnership with Andy Rinomhota has been one of the key partnerships in the division this season. Obviously, Reading for me are very unfortunate to miss out on the playoffs, but the reason why they got close to being in the playoffs is not only because of how clinical they were, but they had that defensive balance in midfield. Again, a bit like Oliver Skip, what we were talking about in the first half, what he did at Norwich. Josh Laurent allows the creative players to create for Reading. He allows the likes of Michael Elise, Ovie Ejaria, John Swift when he's fit, Yaku Mete to do what they're good at. And he's brought so much balance to that Reading side. He's going to be a player who, in the future, I imagine will go for 5, 6, 7 million pounds, because for a midfielder, he's what you want when you want to allow creative players to express themselves. And he's, as I say, really transformed how Reading play.
Yeah, he's brought something completely different to Reading this season. And when you look at, top level Championship ball winning midfielders, he is that. He reads the game so well. I think he's 26 now, but one hell of a player. I can't believe that Reading managed to get him for free, because in hindsight, he looks like a multi-million pound player.
Oh, yeah.
Unbelievable signing. And they got him from Shrewsbury as well. So I don't think, even if he wasn't out of contract, I think they would have got him for a fairly low fee. But just getting him for free is just fantastic business from Reading. The scouting they must have done to get that. I think it was Mark Bowen who was particularly keen on him, but they must have done a hell of a lot of recruiting, hell of a lot of scouting, I should say, to get him in. And yeah, fantastic signing. I don't think we were in any doubts that he was the signing of the season for Reading, because he has been fantastic. Most improved player, Justin. We've already mentioned him in this episode, but it has got to be Callum Styles at Barnsley. Wow. We were just talking a second ago, weren't we, how he has gone from, kind of squad player, centre midfielder for Barnsley last season, and now he has become
the best left back in the Championship this season. Quite arguably the best left back in the Championship this season. His stats have just jumped, haven't they? They've gone from, as you say, a squad player to first name on the team sheet, to best in the league. Quite simply put. Again, his numbers have really surprised me in how well he's adapted to playing left wing back and how well he's adapted to playing in Valérien Ismaël's setup. But that's exactly what it is. And again, we've got to bear in mind that Barnsley they survived on the last day. In fact, they survived because of a points deduction for Wigan last season, which from a player perspective shows you how much each individual has had to step up and improve this season. And Callum Styles, as we say, has gone from squad player to best left back in the league, easily most improved player this season. Yeah, and he's barely featured for Barnsley last season. And now you look at him now, you would be surprised to find out that's the case. He was just coming off the bench quite a bit, and he's gone from starting 5 games last season to starting 42 this season for one of the biggest success stories in the Championship. It's quite remarkable. It really is, and he fully deserves this award. I don't think any player has seen such a rise as Callum Styles this season, and that's why he has quite rightly won this award. We're just repeating ourselves if we go over why he's so good, because we've already mentioned him as the best left back in the Championship this season, but most improved 1,000,000%. Goal of the season, Justin. Now, it's got to be said, there's been a very high standard of goals this season. I mean, Will Vaulks scored from well inside his own half, but that wasn't even in our top 5. No. And I wonder if it's got something to do with, the situation that we've seen this season where the lack of fans in grounds has made players think, well, I can have a crack. And they thought, well, may as well. And it's just worked out on plenty of occasions this season. That's just one theory I've got. But the player who has won goal of the season for us is Scott Sinclair for his stunning strike against Bournemouth. For anyone who hasn't seen it or can't remember it, search it out. When you first see it, it really is a thing of beauty. A lob from 40 yards out. And the most incredible thing is Asmir Begovic, who was in goal, is barely off his line. You've got one of the tallest goalkeepers in the league, maybe even the tallest. And the only way Scott Sinclair could have scored this was by putting it exactly where it's gone. It was absolutely stunning, Justin. Yeah, goal of the season is always something we've got to compromise on, because my goal of the season is different to your goal of the season, but we find a happy medium, and this Scott Sinclair goal very much fits that bill, doesn't it? In fact, the Edison Cavani goal, final day of the Premier League season against, I can't remember who it was against now, it was only at the weekend, Fulham. It's exactly like that. But obviously Cavani, because I'd say this goal was better than that. Yeah, no, in fact, it was. But because obviously one plays for United, the other plays for Preston, there's going to be a lot of talk about the United one, which is frustrating for us Championship lovers. But yeah, this is. I don't know how you get the ball in that small gap between the tip of the goalkeeper's fingers and the goal, essentially. From a player who isn't renowned from scoring from range, by the way. He's a player. It's a goal that really does. It's very easy on the eye, aesthetically pleasing, and a top finish from a very good player. We'll add. Yeah, the technique as well, to be able to control it and put as much power into it as he has done. It was just perfect. It was such a sensational goal. I can't stress this enough. If you can't remember or haven't seen this goal, please search it out. Preston v Bournemouth at the Vitality Stadium earlier in the season. A couple of other goals deserve mentions as well. You were particularly keen on Jamal Lowe's goal against Cardiff, weren't you? Mm-hmm. I thought Sergi Canos's volley against Cardiff was also brilliant. There were so many choices we could have picked here, so it had to be a bloody good goal to win it. And Scott Sinclair against Bournemouth fully deserves that. Young Player of the Season, Justin. Another award where plenty of options, so many options you could have picked here. I mean, Max Aarons, Michael Elise, Oliver Skipp, Harvey Elliott, so many unbelievable young players we've seen in the Championship this season, but we haven't gone for any of those players. Who have we gone for? We've gone for Mark Guehi.
Yeah, he's getting a lot of praise on the second tier at the moment, but it is fully deserved because for a 20-year-old defender to be playing as well as he has done is quite remarkable. And one of my big gripes with modern football is how defenders and your unsung heroes don't really get the praise that they get. They don't win awards, really, do they? So it has to be a pretty standout performance over the course of the season for a player to win this kind of award. And I think Mark Gurley fully deserves it.
Yeah, I think I fell into that trap a little bit when I was choosing mine because my first choice was Michael Olise, with Mark Gurley closely second. But as you say, the unsung hero of teams, defenders don't get too much recognition, and we've got to bear in mind that Swansea, the second best defensive record in the league, don't they? But they've won they've won the most games with clean sheets this season, and that's down to the defense and the control that they have. And obviously they've got into the playoffs with an inexperienced team with Mark Gurley as one of the leaders. It feels like in the team.
Yeah.
At 20 years old, his form this season has been staggering, and again, this is why loan players make me sad, because they're going to go. They're not going to be here around for very long.
Yeah.
You're going to get a good year with them, or a year and a half in Gurley's case, and they're going to go on to bigger and better things, and that's very much what Mark Gurley is going to do.
Absolutely. The pure, talent that he's got for a 20-year-old is just astonishing, and we are kind of just repeating ourselves. I'm very wary of that, so sorry if I am just saying what I said earlier. But his reading of the game and his, physical ability for a 20-year-old is staggering. Brilliant in the air for someone who I think is 5'11", 6 foot. He's not very tall for a centre half, but you wouldn't have been able to guess it because he dominates games so well. And as we say, next season, he will be in the Premier League. I've got no doubt about that. It just depends at what level he's with. I think he could get into the Chelsea side. If not, a Premier League team should happily be taking him up on loan. And if he does play regularly in the Premier League next season, then he could be involved in the England setup in the very near future. Justin, manager of the season. I thought this was fairly obvious. However, the LMA Managers Championship Award, or whatever it's called, Championship Manager of the Season, they've gone for someone completely different. And I was quite frankly appalled that this manager who we've chosen was overlooked by Daniel Farke. Daniel Farke, very good season. Got no gripes with him about that. But I think manager of the season in the Championship, there's only one answer, isn't there?
It's very obvious. It's Valérien Ismaël.
Yeah. I just can't understand how he hasn't been given Championship Manager of the Award by the LMA. I'm not sure what the other, Manager of the Awards have been, who they've been given to. But if it's not Valérien Ismaël, then I've got to question the sense of it all.
Do the managers vote for the LMA? I think they do, don't they?
I'm guessing they do. But even then, how they can't vote for Valérien Ismaël, I just don't understand. But let's ignore that, Justin, because Barnsley this season, the success story that, there are so many strands to how unbelievable it is that Barnsley have managed to finish 5th in the Championship this season, staying up by the skin of their teeth last season. Arguably shouldn't have stayed up at all because obviously Wigan went down via points deduction. A squad that is made up of just £6 million worth of players, and they finished ahead of a Bournemouth side, which is worth at least £100 million. They started the season with no wins in 7, I think it was, or no wins in 6, something like that. And they've managed to finish 5th in the Championship and miss out on promotion by a game. This achievement by Valérien Ismaël is one of the greatest achievements we've ever seen at Championship level.
Without doubt. I've loved him so much. And just to reiterate the achievement, he's had 2 weeks to work on the style of play that Barnsley have, which was the international break in March. That's the only period of time that he's had a real break of games to work on getting Barnsley sorted. And Barnsley were very good before that. We can't move on without lauding in his efforts. I can't remember. They were winless, weren't they, when he came in, or they'd won one under Adam Murray.
They'd struggled massively.
They were in dire straits essentially. I think they were below Derby and Rotherham, and well, it was just Wickham that were the saving grace really for Barnsley at that time. So yeah, just that transformation as well. One of the lowest budgets in the league. There's just too many things to bring in to reason why. To reiterate the reason why Ishmael's manager of the season. As I say, the way he's transformed the club, the playing style, the expectations, he's going to be a very good manager. I suspect the style of play will adapt the more time he gets to work with Barnsley. And for that reason and that reason alone, I think is why Barnsley are going to be able to compete again to get into the playoffs next season. Yeah,
the style of play might not be to everyone's taste, but A, it's definitely exciting, and B, it's definitely effective. He's had to think outside the box, hasn't he, to bring this style of play to Barnsley, and it's worked a treat. And now, when the ultimate compliment you can say is that there are plenty of Premier League clubs who are without managers next season who are having a look at him, and I imagine there's even clubs abroad who are maybe even having a look at him as well, because what he has achieved this season is nothing short of sensational. Easily manager of the season for me. I just can't see how anyone could say any different, quite frankly. Justin, let's move on to our final award. It is the big award, Player of the Season. Who has been the best player in the Championship this season?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm struggling to think of anyone that we could give the award to.
Are you trying to be funny?
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's Emi Buendia.
Yeah, of course, it's Emi Buendia. I mean, for me, I had Emi Buendia as my first choice, but Ivan Toney just behind him. But I'm guessing you had Emi Buendia by quite a distance.
Oh, yeah.
Why did you have him so far ahead of anyone else then?
Because he's streets ahead of everybody, I think. Ivan Toney has got a lot of, I'm not taking away from Ivan Toney, but he's got a lot of creativity around him to provide him opportunities to score. Emi Buendia is the opportunity. Emi Buendia makes Norwich tick going forward. He supplies all the creativity, not all the creativity, but 90% of their creativity. You take him out of the Norwich team, and I think that they don't get promoted. I believe that, and it's no criticism to Norwich, but he's just streets ahead of everybody, not only in his intelligence, but the way he plays, the way he carries himself. And okay, his head might have been turned, but he quickly got around to it at the start of the season and quickly fastened the seatbelt and just went and just drove. Because from 4 or 5 games in, he's been the best player in the league. I think I said it earlier. We could have put him in the team of the season at the start of the season. We knew he was going to be good, and that expectation is why I think he's the best player in the league.
I think for me, it's just the consistency for an attacking player, particularly on the wing, to influence games as regularly as he has done is just unbelievable. It's just not something you see very often in the Championship. I think I was saying earlier, only 9 out of 10 games. Every 9 out of 10 games is a brilliant game, best player on the pitch. Mm-hmm. Those, 5 or 6 games where he wasn't the best player on the pitch, you just forget about them instantly, because next week he puts in an absolutely worldy performance, and he can do it all. Should be playing in the top 6 of the Premier League. It has been unfair for him to be in the Championship this season, but it has been absolutely brilliant watching him, because he has been absolutely fantastic. Emi Buendia, we take off our hats to you if we were wearing any hats. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Second Tier Awards. Thank you for listening to the show this week. Of course, this is all ahead of the playoff final on Saturday. We will be doing a live stream once again on Periscope, on Twitter, YouTube, and also on Twitch now. We're also on Twitch, so make sure you join us then to watch along for the final game of the season between Brentford and Swansea, where we find out who is going to be heading onto the Premier League. Otherwise, we will be doing our normal episodes on Sunday as we react to that game and what promotion means for either what promotion means for either Brentford or Swansea, what missing out on promotion means for Brentford or Swansea. We'll have it all covered, ladies and gentlemen. We are, of course, winding down to the end of the season now, but we will still be providing content for you over the coming months. And if you have listened to this episode, let us know if you enjoyed it. If there's anyone else you think should have won any of the particular awards, let us know on Twitter. We're very interested to hear who you think should have won in each category. Apart from that, this has been the Second Tier podcast, and this has been the Second Tier Awards. We'll be back again on Sunday. I've been Ryan Dilks.
I've been Justin Peach.
Thank you for listening.